All right, all those Texas Democrats that fled their state are finding even more ways to embarrass themselves tonight, as one Texas Democrat is comparing the threat of arrest. But as Governor Abbott said, it's just the police will take them to the Capitol to do their job after fleeing. Anyway, they're comparing it to the institution of slavery. And get this, we're also learning tonight more individuals who interacted with Texas Democrats who tested positive for COVID have now themselves tested positive, including a staffer for Speaker Pelosi. That might explain the Sunday pre-planned health exam of Kamala Harris. She scheduled it on a Sunday. Everyone goes to Walter Reed on Sunday to get a regular routine exam. Anyway, despite these developments, Circle Back Jen Psaki still won't call it a super spreader event. I wonder if she'd have a different view if this was Texas Republicans. Oh, and by the way, they're now saying they're not going to tell anybody if anyone else tests positive. With reaction, Louisiana Senator John Kennedy. Senator, I'm betting you have a lot to say about this super spreader event.
Well, first, Sean, let me say I'm sorry the Texas Democratic lawmakers got sick.
By the way, and let me echo that, and so am I. I don't wish this on anybody.
Right. And I'm sorry they got other people sick. Now, of course, they are playing the victim here in Washington, D.C., where they're situated, when they have no basis to play the victim. They picked the right city to do that in. They fit in just fine here in Washington, D.C., because in Washington, D.C., if it weren't for double standards, there wouldn't be any standards at all. This place, as you know, is a lot like high school, except no one ever graduates. In terms of what they're complaining about, the Texas voting rights bill, I've read the bill. I've read the statute. I've read the proposed bill. I've read the underlying statutes. It doesn't suppress anybody's vote. It allows for very generous early voting, very generous absentee voting. Yes, it does require voter ID. It does require the people of Texas to prove they are who they say they are when they go to vote. The American people support that. The American people want that. And I say gently to my Democratic friends from Texas, if you don't see the need for that, then there are one or two circumstances here. Either you're so dumb you lose your place during sex, or you want to cheat. And those are your two choices.
Are you sure there's no third option here?
Well, here's what I think a lot of this is about, because I've read all of these proposed laws. One of the reasons that the last presidential election was so controversial is because we had a voting month instead of what we're used to, a voting day. And if you peel off the layers here, you'll see that most, not all, but most Republicans want to go back to having a voting day. And many, not all, but many Democrats are perfectly happy having a voting month. Now, I don't care what your opinion is about the results of the last election. No fair-minded person can deny that it was anything other than a goat rodeo. I mean, we had ballots flying around like confetti. Various states sent out 44 million ballots unsolicited. We had poll watchers being interfered with. We had ballot harvesting out the wazoo. We had state executive branch officials unilaterally changing the voting laws without conferring with the legislature in their state, which the Constitution says has the final say. Some of this, I understand, might have been necessary. We had to make some changes to accommodate the coronavirus and people's public safety. But I'm going to say it again, no fair-minded person can point to the process-wise to the last election and say it was a model of efficiency. So that's what most of these bills are doing. They're trying to move us back to an election day, not an election month. And they do have voter ID. But they also have generous early voting and generous absentee balloting, and I just don't get their complaints.
And let's not forget, they went to the swamp in D.C. to filibuster and not have a quorum in Texas so they can prevent Republicans from filibustering. That's a whole other show. But, Senator, great to see you. Thank you, sir.